This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Mike Murphy.
Thank you, Charlie. Yes, I am Mike Murphy, host of the Good Neighbor Podcast. We talk to local business owners, influencers, people that I think you should know, and people that want you to know them. And one of the people that I have with me today is Kelly Kuehneman. She is the owner of Signastyle Home. She's got a beautiful website, signastyle.com, that I've taken a peek at. There's a lot there. So I don't know that we will ever really be able to get to everything that you do today, Kelly, but we're going to get to some of it. And so that being said, say hello and tell us what you do.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, by the way.
You're welcome.
As he said, I'm Kelly Kuehneman. I am the founder and owner of Signastyle Home, which is the retail portion of my brand. I actually have another portion that's Kelly Annalise Interiors, which embodies interior design. The name Signastyle itself came from me combining the words signature and style into one, because that truly is the premise behind my brand, helping people find their signature style. Signastyle Home, I'm online, as he said. I'm also in 3 Painted Tree Boutique locations, Crestview Hills, Kentucky, Cincinnati, Ohio, and Franklin, Tennessee. And basically, I offer curated home decor options for shoppers. And what I mean by that is it's not just your everyday finds. I try to incorporate unique items that you don't see everywhere else. You don't always find on Amazon. I have a range of price points to fit all budgets, and I really just tried to find unique things. It could include vintage and antiques, modern type stuff, you name it. And then the Kelly Annalise Interiors, I do everything from e-design to full service interior design. So both aspects of my business are really rooted in my passion to help people create spaces that feel beautiful, personal, functional, with the goal being that they are timeless and intentional and unique to, you, the customer.
Mm-hmm. So when did you cut your teeth in this business? What got you started, whenever that was?
I've had a love for design ever since I was a little kid. I started out loving art. I paint, I draw, I made all kinds of crafts. As I grew older, I started to get a love for vintage and antiques. I spent time refinishing antiques. I have multiple antiques in my home. I even did the upcycling and the painting furniture that became so popular. But one thing I recognized as I was kind of on this journey is that our environment, our spaces, they impact how we feel. So I started to think about that. A room can feel cozy or it can feel cold. And it has a lot to do with, the things that we put in it. So I took the leap to turn my passion into a business. And I first started out doing pop-up shows, vendor events. Those grew over the years, and, curating more pieces and kind of molding my design process, so to speak. And it's organically grown to where I am today.
So do you subscribe to the theory of feng shui, or is it your version of a feng shui?
I think it's each individual person's version of feng shui, because I really try to find, when I'm talking to, customers, clients, whatnot, I'm trying to discern what resonates with them. Everybody's different. Some people are really into modern contemporary design, others like more traditional or transitional. And that's okay. And ultimately, a lot of people fall for the latest trends and the fads, and that's okay too. There's a way to incorporate the latest trends into your home without going too overboard, that one day then you wake up and you go, well, shoot, that's not a trend anymore. And now I got to redo my whole house. So I try to help people kind of figure all that out. And like I said, it really is a personal choice. The goal is to find a space that you as the homeowner resonate with, that you like, that's works for you. It may not work for everybody else, but it works for you.
Okay. And that they're able to have some control over it long after you've left and made your recommendations and whatnot, because I could see some people hiring you, and then you do what you do and everything is perfect in the way they want it, and then they're afraid to ever touch it again. They're not allowed to move
Yeah,
anything. So, you have to feel comfortable in your home, and that's what makes it
absolutely.
feel like a home.
Well, I think, a lot of us watch those DIY shows and the Joanna
Mhm.
Gaines of the world, and they are
Yeah.
phenomenal. But they are very staged. And I mean, I myself, I like to stage my house. I like to shop in my own house. So rather than, spending a lot of money, sometimes if I want to change things up, I just shop rooms. And I encourage people to do that. Go in your
Mm.
house, swap something from one room into another, and it can change the whole look of the room. And it can also
Yeah.
inspire you to maybe change the paint color or just change the throw pillows on the couch or what have you. Um, but I think it is important to recognize that your room doesn't always have to be completely staged. They still have to be lived in. It still has to be
Yeah.
functional. And the functionality of a room is extremely important.
I had somebody ask me once, they came down to my lower level, kind of where I do a lot of my working. I mean, we've got pool table down here. It's a whole, I don't know, it's a utilitarian space. It's always changing. And people say, is it always staged? And I had never thought of it that way.
Hmm.
My response was, no, I'm an empty nester. I just don't have kids running around moving things. So
That makes a big difference.
when something goes somewhere, it kind of tends to stay there. But then, every once in a while, I change the functionality of a room and I move things around. And my wife comes down here and she looks around and things are different. And she's asking me, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, it's just, I needed to do it. So just let me be.
Yep. Yeah, I
Yeah.
sometimes drive my husband a little crazy because, like I said, I love to redecorate. And if I had an endless budget, if we all had endless budgets, I mean,
Mhm.
sure, you could just go crazy, right? But you have to be realistic. And some things you might find too, you rearrange a room or you put new pieces in it, and at first it feels wonderful. You're
Mhm.
excited about it. But after you sit with it for a while, it may not it may not evoke that same kind of feeling. And so,
Yeah.
that's okay. You got to shift and you got to change. And that's what I try to help people do too, is to recognize that, like I said, the rooms need to be functional, lived in, but personal to you and your story
Yeah.
so that it works for you.
So you sort of addressed this a little bit earlier in saying that you shop from different rooms and you kind of move things
Mhm.
around. I wondered, like, is this one of those the emperor has no clothes sort of thing, or whatever that is? Bottom line being, is your home a showcase or is your home a mess?
Well, I'm also a little OCD.
Okay.
Actually, I'm a lot OCD if you talk to my family. So my house is seldom a mess. It may not
Okay.
always be past the white glove
Mhm.
finger test, but I am a really neat, tidy person. Chaos causes me anxiety. When I was a kid, I used to drive my mom crazy. She would clean my room and dust, and I would go in my room and, like on my desk, if she had moved my, pencil holder or something like 2 inches too far, I would go and move it back. Like I was really bad. I'm not
Mhm.
as bad anymore. But I will say, like when I'm decorating for Christmas, because I always say Christmas threw up at my house, I do all the things, very
Yeah.
tasteful, but it's like in all the rooms. And I can sometimes decorate and, step back and then move things and then step back again. And because I am like a perfectionist, but I don't encourage other people to be like that. I'm a little over the top.
Yeah. 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 My wife was complaining. I don't know if that's the right word, but how she put everything out for Christmas and she worked so hard at it and everything looked so beautiful. But then she said, um, when people come over, they don't tell me how beautiful it is. And
Oh,
it's like we forget that, we work so hard at something and we're just wanting some sort of validation, I guess, as humans. But
yeah,
um, the bottom line is we all think how beautiful it is. We just don't say it. And
that's
so I
true.
think that's something that we need to be more cognizant of just in life, I guess.
I agree
Um,
wholeheartedly.
so the beauty that you're putting out in the world, I think I'm sure a lot of people appreciate it. We just need to all say it. So there's some more life coaching coming out of me that happens from time to time.
Bravo.
I need life coaching, and here I'm giving it. So there's something wrong with that. So when somebody approaches you, or you go to, I mean, when you find a client, however that is, what does the process look like in terms of starting that relationship? The process of doing what you do for them.
Well, I mean, it's pretty much like anything. You do your due diligence first, right? So a lot of questions. If someone comes to me and they're saying, I don't know how to decorate this space. I don't know what to do with it. It's just a mess. The first question is, well, what kind of spaces have you seen that you do like? Whether it's a Pinterest board, a mood board, inspiration, whatever. Do you like something that's moody? Do you like a cozy feel? Do you like something that's, maybe more formal? So you go through a series of questions to try to pinpoint, and sometimes they don't know, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes it's, I don't know what I like. And that's okay too, because then you just kind of coach them and you show them pictures and say, what do you like here? Or what don't you like? And so then I can kind of determine from those questions and those pictures kind of what
Hmm.
their style is or maybe is. And lots of times it's a combination of many styles. And then we kind of build off of that.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. Um, People can't always communicate what it is they want, but I think
Hmm.
pictures is one way. Like you mentioned, Pinterest, kind of look at different styles and whatever resonates with you, pin those, save them, whatever, and show you. And that's a one way of communicating without knowing the terminology necessarily.
Right.
So you personally, like, what is your favorite decor style?
I try to blend current trends with artful pieces and timeless pieces. I would say I'm more transitional. Um, there's aspects of more modern contemporary stuff that I like. I don't have really that look in my house per se, but I can create that for other people's, and I like it. My house is more transitional. I mean, I've got, like I said, I have antiques in my home, and then I have newer pieces, and I really enjoy marrying those pieces together. I do try to recommend to people. Now, you might have a room where you decide to go really bold. They have what's that's called color washing, where you do the ceiling and all the trim and the walls, and it's all one
Hmm.
color. And lots of times it's a deep, bold color, for a dramatic impact, maybe a study or that kind of thing. And those can be beautiful. A lot of times, though, I try to sway customers too that, aside from maybe that one room where you want to do that dramatic effect, the rest of the house is oftentimes wise, especially if you have lower ceilings or a small house or you don't have a lot of natural light, to keep the walls more a neutral, lighter color. And then you can bring all the color and excitement that you want into the
Hmm.
room via the furnishings, whether it's blinds or drapes or throw pillows on the couch, the furniture, the area rugs, vases with flowers. And the
Hmm.
beautiful thing about that is if you tire of it or if you want to change it, in combination with the seasons, you can do so relatively inexpensively. You can have pillow covers where you keep the inserts and just swap out the covers, and you can change the whole look of your couch or your living
Yeah.
room. And you don't have to worry about repainting the whole, all the walls. So, it's little things like that that I try to help customers, figure out what they want and kind of point them into the direction that maybe suits their home best.
Yeah. Good point. So you were talking about like HGTV earlier and those home
Hmm.
decor shows or whatever. That's one term that we've all heard is pops of color.
Yeah.
It's you got your neutral base or whatever, and then you bring in your themes through pops of color, and you can change those out through pillow coverings and
Yeah.
throws and things like that. Um, yeah, I could see the value in having somebody come in and at least get the process going and get a good basic layout, design, whatever, and then just allowing you to have some creative license to just kind of slowly tweak and reinvent seasonally.
Right.
Um, okay.
It's just like when people, go to sell their home and the realtor says, you need to remove all the personal looking stuff. You need to like pull some of the stuff, the clutter off the counters and stuff. And the reason being is a lot of buyers, when they walk into a home, they can't see the big picture. They can't visualize, either their things in the home or just how to decorate the home itself. So if you have a lot of busyness and clutter that works well for you, it's not always best when you're selling a home. So I also encourage people, if they're putting their house on the market, they need help staging it, to help kind of streamline it so that when a buyer or a potential buyer walks in the house, they can say, okay, I can see, that size couch works. But you try to remove a lot of the personal stuff because they don't want to see your stuff in there. You want them to envision their family portrait
Mhm.
above, the
Yeah.
fireplace and stuff. So,
Mm.
I also can help with that if customers are, in
Yeah.
that stage of life.
So I could understand why realtors might love you. You're helping them. You're making their job easier
Yes.
by. Okay. Well, very good. So, what is your favorite part of what you do? I know there are multiple things you do for people, but what really gets you excited? What's most rewarding for you, I guess?
Really, it's hearing back from customers when they're just so excited. Like, I know myself, when I do something in my own house and I, rearrange it or redesign it or whatever, and you just sit back and you're like, wow, this just makes me feel so good. And when a customer says that, or even if they buy something from my retail store and they're like, oh, I just love this piece. I've been looking for something for the longest time that was different. And this is perfect. It's the perfect size, or it tells a story, or if it's a vintage type piece. I have a series in my store called the Found Collection, which are authentic vintage and antique pieces, a lot of pottery and whatnot. And when people find those, they're like, wow, this is just so unique. Nobody else is going to have something like this. And a lot of people like that. And then too, there's those pieces that someone says, oh, this reminds me of my grandmother, or this reminds me of a story of when. And that's nice too, just knowing that you can tie some kind of memory or story and help put that in a person's home. Because again, part of my goal is to help it feel intentional and lived in, but I want it to tell each individual story. I want them to go into their home and truly make it, from a house to a home.
Mhm. Yeah, at the end of the day, you're really just making people happy.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
different routes you take, but yeah, you're making people happy. So you mentioned the painted tree boutiques. When somebody goes to a painted tree, what are they going to see there from you?
Well, for me, they're going to see a multitude of stuff. I mean, I do tend to have, I have some hand design stuff because I am an artist by background.
Mhm.
I have a graphic design background as well. So there are some hand pieces in there, but a lot of it's just, like I said, I have the Found Collection, which has antique and true authentic vintage pieces. And then I have modern day stuff, but I do try to find, like I said before, unique pieces. You may find some things that you're going to see similar, in a Target or an Amazon or Home Goods or whatever, but I strive to find pieces that you're not going to see everywhere else. And then the other thing that you see in my store is the way my store is set up. I have like a fireplace mantle on the back wall, and there's bookcases, so it kind of feels like a home. And typical merchandising, like when you go into a big box store, you see a lot of product and it's just lined up in a row. And I try to decorate my space as if it were a home. So, and the goal being that it helps people visualize how they could see that in their own space. So lots of times too, I may have 5 of the same item in there, but I won't put all 5 together. I'll have them spaced out in the store, and I'll have other pieces with it so they can see how to curate similar pieces that might work, that maybe they have something similar at home in terms of size, or a vase that works well with this other item, or maybe they like the whole grouping. So that's something they see from my space. And painted tree in general, you're going to see a whole multitude of things.
Right.
It's a great facility.
So let's take a departure from the business talk and talk about family talk. So I'll usually ask business owners, what does family look like to you? So are you married with kids, or are you what's that look like? Just describe your family for us, please.
Married with one daughter. She is 27, and I'm extremely proud of her. She graduated from UK in public health, and then decided that she really wanted to be a nurse. So she went back and put herself through college again through Xavier's ABSN program, graduated this past December, and now she is a nurse at Children's Hospital. So, and it's National Nurses Week, so more power to her and all the nurses out there.
So we've talked about your daughter. What about your husband? What does he do? What's his name? Let's shout him out. Just how long have you been married?
Okay, my husband's name is Tom. And he likes to be difficult because he spells it THOM, which people are like, Thom, and he's like, no, it's like Thomas. So, but he's a jack of all trades. One of the things we do that both of us love to do is DIY projects. And when we moved into this house 6 years ago, we have literally gutted this whole house and remodeled it. So he has a lot of the same kind of passion that I do for design and, fixing homes and whatnot. And he can do the CAD drawings too. We've been married over 30 years. Like I said, we have the one daughter. We both have an immense love of animals. We've always had dogs. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm a dog person too, so I get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love dogs. Okay. When you guys go and do fun stuff, what do? You like to vacation? Do you like to cruise? Do you like hiking? What do you do?
I love anything outdoors. Now, I'll preface that by saying when the weather's nice. I am not a cold weather person. I hate winter. I
Hmm.
often say that I don't know why I live here. I should live like in the South where it's warm
Yeah.
more times out of the year. But we love to be outside. I like working in the yard. I love taking walks, being out in nature. Love going to the beach. And given that I do have a strong love for animals, I love being with my dog. I take him for a walk every day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Dog's a big commitment. If you're gonna,
yeah,
do the right thing, you can't just have a dog and make them sit in the corner all day. Yeah. So
yeah,
yeah, being a dog lover is part of responsible pet care.
that's right. And we typically have more than one, but unfortunately we've lost a few over recent years. So we're
Yeah.
down to just the one little guy, but
Hmm.
sometimes he feels like we've got more than one. So
Okay.
it
Yeah. Losing a dog's a terrible thing.
is.
But we digress. Yeah, that's a tough subject. It really is.
Yeah.
So let's see. One thing I wanted to ask you is, do you have a typical client really? Like, um, I asked before, like, when you come across a client, however that might be, let's just talk about that. What's the typical way a client and that you and a client come to meet?
It depends. Sometimes when I'm in Painted Tree, because I'll be refreshing my space during business hours, lots of times I get to meet the customers, which is really, really nice. And sometimes, nothing comes of it. Other times it's just a nice conversation. But there are times that people reach out and they're like, oh, you offer this service and this service too. I'd love, for you to help me out. And lots of times then we'll communicate via email or whatever. Some people just go direct to my website. There's a contact
Mhm.
form there. And then on the Kelly Annalise interior site, there's even a spot where you can fill out like a design questionnaire. So it allows you to go through and pick out, which room that you're looking for assistance with, tell what you like about it, what you don't. You can upload pictures, that kind of thing. But a lot of it's just word of mouth.
Yeah.
It's,
Kind of like any entrepreneur, you get
yeah,
your clients however you can. Like,
yeah,
it's many different paths to the people that we help.
that's right.
So one thing I want to make sure before we sign off is, if somebody does want to reach out to you as they're hearing this, what's the best way they can reach you, and what are a couple ways that they typically can reach you?
Probably the easiest is via the website, just so that, I ensure that I have the correct spelling and email address and whatnot, because as
Yeah,
we well know, I mean, I know myself, the older I get, my handwriting isn't what it used to be. And sometimes I look at it and I think, what did I
yeah,
just write? So this
yeah.
way, it's all typed out and nice and pretty. But they can go to signastyle.com or to kellyannalise.com, either one of those. And there's links to both, you know, redirecting to the other.
Mhm.
I'm also on, all the social media channels. I'm on Facebook as Signastyle Home, which the username is just at Signastyle. And then
Mhm.
on Instagram, it's at Signastyle Home. Um, and and Instagram is nice because you'll see a lot of you see it on Facebook too, a lot of the pictures and stuff, but some of my
Mhm.
product and whatnot that's in the stores. You can see highlights and stories and
Yeah.
that stuff. It's kind of easier to navigate, I think, than
Mhm.
Facebook. But
It,
so
it
those are
lends
always
itself, and Instagram lends itself well to visuals and things like that
right.
too. So it's a
Right.
nice gallery setting. So
Yes.
okay. Is there anything that we haven't talked about before we sign off that you maybe have on your punch list of things to make sure people know about you?
I'd say one thing is to know that my business, both aspects of it, are deeply personal. So whether I'm curating products for my retail stores, I'm working on a project for a customer or a consultation. Regardless, it's deeply personal. I'm trying to find pieces that speak to that individual person. Because, like I said, at the end of the day, it's not just about aesthetics. It's not about just creating a space that feels pretty. It's really about making it functional and fitting for that person's lifestyle, to bring out their personality. So when someone comes to visit their home, even if it's just the decor pieces in their home, it kind of tells you something about the individual that lives there. And it really does make a house feel like a home. And so I would want people to know that that's my goal, is to help them with design, either through the products that I sell or through my services, that it's intentional and timeless, and it's, unique to them.
Well, very good. It sounds like if somebody needs your services, you are a very warm personality. You seem to know what you're doing.
Thank you.
People can, I feel, trust you. And so I could see why people would want to reach out to you. So
I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You and I have not really had FaceTime together till today. So this has been a nice conversation to have. I feel like I've gotten to know you pretty quickly, and at least how you operate. And, I try to build up that know, like, and trust factor. And I think we've kind of checked those boxes today. So thank
Wonderful.
you. Thanks for spending time with us and just kind of explaining to the community what you do. I'll say to the people listening, if you think you might want to reach out to Kelly, then by gum, do it.
Thank you.
She's just shown you how to do it, and she told you what she can help you with. So, yeah. That being said, it's been a pleasure to talk with you today, Kelly. And for everybody out there listening, this is the Good Neighbor Podcast. I'll always sign off by saying, everybody out there, until we talk next time, everybody, please be good to your neighbor. So long, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Union. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpunion.com. That's gnpunion.com, or call us at 859-651-8330.